Welcome to Readings in English, your new companion on the journey to learning English through captivating stories. Here, you won't just be learning English words and grammar. You'll be discovering techniques to improve your skills more quickly and with greater confidence. We understand that learning English can be challenging, with grammar rules, new vocabulary, and the added difficulty of learning a language that sometimes feels unfamiliar. But remember, every challenge you face is a step toward your goal. Here on this channel, you'll find support, guidance, and incredible stories that bring English learning to life in an engaging and enjoyable way. Today, we're diving into a powerful story about resilience and the human spirit. Join us as we follow the journey of a refugee arriving in a new country where he must overcome more than just language barriers. He faces a deep trauma that has silenced him. However, through English lessons and the unwavering support of his new friends, he slowly finds his voice again. This story of courage and connection will inspire you and help build your English skills in a meaningful way. Let's begin. In a foreign land, everything feels overwhelming to him. The airport bustles with activity, filled with sights and sounds he doesn't understand. People chatter in a language that slips through his comprehension, and his heart pounds as he realizes just how vast the distance is between him and the world around him. The weight of isolation settles heavily on him, pressing down like an invisible burden. He feels small and insignificant, as though the noise and chaos will swallow him whole if he lets it. His silence, a product of trauma, remains his only shield against a world that feels alien and unwelcoming. He navigates through the crowd, clutching a worn bag that contains all he has left from his previous life. His steps are uncertain, and each movement feels as though he's stumbling through an unfamiliar dream. People around him speak with ease, their voices blending into a cacophony of incomprehensible sounds. He catches snippets of conversation but cannot piece together any meaning. The airport's bright lights and gleaming floors only heighten his sense of disorientation, making him acutely aware of his inability to communicate, an isolating reality he cannot escape. At the refugee center, he stands in a dim room where staff members move efficiently, processing newcomers. The room is crowded, filled with faces etched with fatigue and worrying. He watches, relying on gestures and expressions to communicate his most basic needs, yet even that feels like a monumental struggle. His silence is not just a result of language, but a byproduct of his inner turmoil, a wound that has silenced his voice. He shrinks further into himself, finding comfort in the familiar cocoon of his solitude, even as it deepens the chasm between him and those around him. A staff member, perhaps noticing his silence, offers a gentle smile, a small gesture of understanding. She gestures for him to follow, leading him to an area where he'll soon start his first English lessons. The prospect both terrifies and fills him with a faint hope. He's uncertain if he can bridge the gap between silence and speech, yet something in the staff member's gaze gives him the courage to try. He clutches this hope, fragile as it is, letting it guide him forward. The classroom is small, sparsely decorated with walls adorned by basic learning materials. He steps in hesitantly, glancing around at others who share his situation, each one grappling with the same language barrier. A range of emotions stirs within him as he observes his classmates, from fear to a longing for connection. He sits at the back, watching as others introduce themselves. Though silent, he senses a flicker of hope. Perhaps here he can begin to reconnect with a world he thought was lost to him. The lesson begins with simple greetings, words that feel strange on his tongue. He listens intently, trying to grasp the unfamiliar sounds. Each word feels foreign, like a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit, yet he holds on to them, one by one. The teacher's patient guidance offers him a semblance of stability, a thread of connection to hold on to. For the first time, he feels that language might be a way out of his solitude, a bridge he desperately needs to build. Outside of class, he attempts to put his new words into practice. Entering a convenience store, he braces himself to try speaking, his heart racing with anxiety. He approaches the counter, hoping to buy something simple, but his voice catches in his throat. Trauma tightens its grip, rendering him mute once more. The cashier offers a patient smile, a small kindness that eases some of his shame. Despite his failure, the encounter reinforces his resolve to keep learning, to reclaim the voice that's been buried beneath layers of pain. Returning to the classroom for his next lesson, he listens more intently, determined to absorb each new word. Every small success, a word learned, a phrase understood, feels like a victory, a step toward breaking free from his silence. The more he learns, the more the walls around him seem to shrink, allowing glimpses of a world he's only observed from afar. He feels a connection to his classmates, each of them a silent ally in the shared struggle for understanding. As he leaves class that day, he walks with a cautious sense of optimism, a new feeling that begins to chip away at his despair. The following day, he walks to his second English class with a cautious sense of hope. The sky is overcast, the gray clouds mirroring his own uncertainty, yet there is something different in his step. He feels the pull of determination, a desire to break through the walls his silence has built around him. Each step toward the classroom is a step away from the isolation that has defined him for so long. His heart beats with a strange mix of fear and excitement, a combination he hasn't felt in what seems like a lifetime. Inside the classroom, he notices a familiar face. A classmate, a young woman with a gentle smile, catches his eye and offers a nod. It's a small gesture, but it fills him with a warmth he hadn't expected. He sits near her, feeling a bit less alone, as if her silent acknowledgement has drawn him into a circle of quiet understanding. Her presence is a comfort, a reminder that he is not the only one struggling to find his voice in this foreign world. He takes a deep breath, feeling a glimmer of courage begin to form. As the lesson begins, the teacher introduces a few basic sentences, guiding them patiently through each phrase. He listens intently, absorbing the sounds, the rhythm of each word. Repeating the phrases in his mind, he feels them start to sink in, each one a small victory. The teacher's encouragement, her steady smile, feels like a lifeline, grounding him as he battles the insecurities that rise with each attempt to learn. He tries to speak, to let the words form on his lips, but his voice falters, the weight of his past holding him back. Halfway through the lesson, his classmate leans over, whispering the words with a softness that eases his tension. He watches her lips form each syllable, mimicking her soundlessly, feeling a connection forming between them. She repeats a phrase slowly, her voice a gentle guide, helping him bridge the gap between silence and speech. The kindness in her gesture touches him deeply, breaking down another layer of his fear. He whispers a quiet thank you, his voice barely audible, yet it feels like a monumental step. Encouraged by her patience, he attempts the phrases aloud, his voice unsteady but determined. The sound feels foreign, like an echo from a forgotten life, yet there's something liberating in hearing it again. His classmate gives him a reassuring nod, her silent encouragement giving him the strength to continue. Each phrase he manages to say aloud becomes a small triumph, a crack in the barrier that has kept him isolated. He clings to these moments, letting them guide him forward, piece by piece, toward a future he barely dares to imagine. When the class ends, he lingers near the door, watching his classmates as they leave. His classmate pauses, giving him a warm smile before stepping outside. Her kindness lingers with him, filling the silence left in her absence. Stepping out of the classroom, he feels the world open up a little more, the vastness seeming less daunting. He realizes that learning this new language is more than just words. It's a path to belonging, a bridge that will carry him out of his solitude. On his way home, he decides to stop at a small park nearby. The quiet, open space feels welcoming, offering him a place to reflect. Sitting on a bench, he practices the phrases from class, repeating them softly to himself. Each word feels like a seed planted, small but full of potential. He lets the sounds roll off his tongue, finding comfort in the rhythm, the repetition. It feels like a form of healing, a balm to his weary soul. As he speaks, he feels the weight of his silence begin to lift, little by little. A passer-by glances his way, offering a nod of acknowledgement. Normally, he would look away, avoiding any interaction that might expose his vulnerability. But this time he holds the gaze for a moment, nodding back, feeling a sense of connection, however brief. It's a small victory, a reminder that he is still a part of the world, capable of reaching out. The feeling lingers as he continues home, a quiet reassurance that he is not as alone as he once thought. Arriving back at his modest apartment, he sits by the window, watching the city move below him. The world outside is busy, alive with a language he is only beginning to grasp. Yet, for the first time, he feels a sense of belonging, a feeling that this place could become home. His journey is far from over, and he knows there will be struggles ahead, but he holds on to the moments of connection he's found. The kindness of his classmate, the brief acknowledgement from a stranger, these are the threads that weave him into the fabric of his new life. As night falls, he lies in bed, the phrases from class echoing softly in his mind. The words have become a lullaby, a reminder of the path he has chosen to walk. His heart is full, not with certainty, but with a quiet resilience, a determination to reclaim his voice and his place in the world. The morning is quiet as he makes his way to the classroom, a sense of purpose guiding his steps. The city around him is slowly becoming familiar, each street and corner less foreign, each face a little less unknown. Today, he feels a renewed strength within him, a quiet resolve that has been building with each lesson. The words he has learned swirl in his mind, forming connections, bridging the gaps that once seemed impossible to cross. He holds on to the hope that today he might take yet another step toward reclaiming his voice. In the classroom, he finds his seat, settling in as the other students arrive. His classmate, the young woman who helped him before, smiles warmly, and he returns her smile, feeling a bond between them. She has become a steady presence, a reminder that kindness still exists in the world, even in a place where he once felt completely alone. He feels an urge to say something, anything, to let her know how much her kindness has meant to him, but the words linger just out of reach. Instead, he nods, hoping she understands his gratitude. The teacher begins the lesson with simple sentences, encouraging them to speak aloud. He listens closely, absorbing the sounds, repeating the words in his mind before letting them escape his lips. His voice is soft, hesitant, but it's there, forming words, sentences, ideas. With each attempt, he feels a small victory, a crack in the wall of silence that has confined him. He looks around the room, noticing how his classmates are also struggling, each of them battling their own fears and insecurities, yet all of them pressing forward. As the lesson progresses, the teacher asks them to introduce themselves to the person next to them. His heart pounds, the familiar fear creeping in, but he takes a deep breath, steadying himself. He turns to his classmate, meeting her encouraging gaze, and lets the words flow, haltingly but with determination. "My name is," he begins, his voice wavering but gaining strength with each word. She listens patiently, nodding, her eyes filled with understanding. The simple act of saying his name aloud feels monumental, a declaration of his presence, his identity. She introduces herself in return, her voice soft yet confident. Hearing her speak, he realizes that he is not as alone as he once thought. They are all here, each person carrying their own story, their own struggle, yet united by the shared goal of learning to communicate, of finding a place in this unfamiliar world. He feels a connection forming, a thread that ties them together, giving him strength. For the first time, he feels like he belongs, like he is part of something larger than himself. After class, he walks through the city, practicing the words and phrases he learned that day. The world around him feels different, less daunting, as though the language barrier is slowly crumbling. He notices things he hadn't seen before, small details that make the city feel alive and welcoming. He passes a group of children playing, their laughter ringing out in the crisp air, and he smiles, feeling a warmth he hasn't felt in a long time. Each word he practices brings him closer to understanding, to feeling connected to the world around him. As he rounds a corner, he encounters an elderly man struggling with a bag of groceries. Without thinking, he approaches, offering a tentative smile and a simple, "Can I help you?" The words are awkward on his tongue, but the man's face lights up with gratitude. He nods, and they work together, lifting the bag. It is a small moment, but it fills him with pride, a reminder that he is capable of reaching out, of bridging the gap between himself and others. He walks away with a sense of fulfillment, a feeling that perhaps in this new world he has something to offer. That evening, as he reflects on the day, he feels a sense of peace. The fear that once gripped him is loosening its hold, replaced by a growing confidence in his ability to navigate this new life. He knows there will be challenges ahead, moments where he will falter, but he holds on to the progress he has made, each step a testament to his resilience. The silence that once weighed him down is now filled with the voices of his classmates, his teacher, and the strangers he has encountered. He is no longer alone, no longer defined solely by his trauma. Before going to bed, he practices the phrases from class once more, letting each word settle in his mind. He imagines the day, and he will speak freely without hesitation, when his voice will carry his story, his hopes, his dreams. The journey is far from over, but he feels ready to face it, armed with the language he is slowly making his own. He drifts to sleep with a quiet determination, knowing that each new day brings him closer to reclaiming his place in the world. The classroom has become more than just a place for lessons. It is now a sanctuary, a space where he feels safe to explore his voice. As he sits among his classmates, he realizes he is not simply learning English, but also learning how to be a part of a community again. Each person here has their own story, their own struggles, yet together they have formed a support system. There is an unspoken understanding, a bond that ties them together despite their differences. For the first time since he arrived, he feels he belongs. The teacher begins the lesson with new vocabulary, words that describe emotions and states of mind. She encourages them to think about how they feel and to express those feelings using these new words. He listens carefully, repeating each word softly to himself. Words like hope, peace, and courage fill the room, each one a reminder of the journey he is on. These words resonate with him deeply, touching parts of him that he thought were beyond reach. As they practice using the words and sentences, he feels a desire to share a bit more of himself. His heart races as he raises his hand, an act of bravery in itself. When the teacher nods at him, he takes a deep breath and begins to speak, his voice shaky but determined. "I feel ... hope," he says, the words feeling both strange and empowering. His classmates smile, some nodding in understanding, and he feels a wave of relief. By speaking this simple sentence, he has shared a piece of himself, something he has not done in a very long time. The lesson continues, and the teacher asks them to talk about someone they admire. His mind drifts back to his childhood, to memories of his father, a man of quiet strength and resilience. He remembers how his father always seemed unbreakable, a steady presence in a world that was often harsh and unpredictable. Gathering his courage, he speaks softly, describing his father in simple words, painting a picture of a man who faced challenges with dignity. His classmates listen intently, their expressions filled with respect. In sharing these memories, he feels closer to them, as though he has invited them into his past, even if only for a moment. After class, he walks home feeling lighter, as if a weight has been lifted from his shoulders. The words he spoke, the memories he shared, have begun to release him from the grip of his past. He understands now that language is more than just a tool for communication. It is a way to heal, to rebuild, to reclaim parts of himself that he thought were lost forever. His steps are steady, his heart full, and he knows that he is moving toward a future that once felt unreachable. That evening, he decides to practice his English in a new way. He stands in front of the mirror, looking into his own eyes, and begins to speak. He talks about his day, about the lesson, about his classmates. The words are simple, but they carry a power he never anticipated. He realizes that he is not just learning to speak to others, He is learning to speak to himself, to acknowledge his own worth, to affirm that he deserves to be here to be heard. As he continues practicing, he feels a surge of confidence. His voice grows steadier, each word becoming a declaration of his determination. He sees in his own reflection the resilience he has fought so hard to preserve. In this moment, he feels a deep sense of pride, a recognition of how far he has come. He knows that there is still a long way to go, but he is no longer afraid. He is ready to face whatever lies ahead, knowing that he has the strength to overcome it. The next day, he walks into the classroom with a newfound sense of purpose. His classmates notice the change, offering him encouraging smiles and nods. He feels their support, their belief in him, and it fuels his determination to keep going. Today, the teacher introduces a new exercise. They are to share something they are grateful for. He thinks for a moment, reflecting on his journey and the people who have helped him along the way. When it is his turn, he speaks with a quiet confidence. "I am grateful for this class, for all of you," he says, looking around at his classmates. "You have given me hope." The room is silent, his words hanging in the air, and he can see the impact they have on his classmates. Some of them nod, others smile, and he feels a warmth spreading through him. In sharing his gratitude, he has connected with them in a profound way, solidifying the bond they share. That evening, as he walks through the city, he feels a sense of peace. The world around him no longer feels intimidating. Instead, it feels welcoming, full of possibilities. He watches the people passing by, each one immersed in their own lives, and he realizes that he is a part of this world just as they are. The language he is learning is not just English. It is the language of belonging, of connection, of understanding. He feels a sense of joy, a quiet happiness that fills him with hope for the future. Back in his apartment, he reflects on the day, on the progress he has made. The silence that once felt like a prison has become a place of reflection, a space where he can process his journey, where he can celebrate his victories, no matter how small. He knows that there will still be difficult days, moments when his past feels overwhelming, but he is no longer defined by it. He has found a way forward, a path that leads toward healing and self-acceptance. As he lies in bed, he thinks about the journey that lies ahead, about the future he is building. One word at a time, he feels a sense of calm, a certainty that he is on the right path. Each word he has learned, each connection he has made, has brought him closer to a life filled with purpose and meaning. He closes his eyes, letting the peace of the moment wash over him, knowing that he is no longer alone. The final class has arrived, and as he enters the room, he feels a blend of excitement and apprehension. He has come so far, yet the journey has only just begun. His classmates greet him with warm smiles, their presence a reminder of the friendships and connections he has formed in this space. Each one of them has been part of his story, a witness to his struggle and his triumphs. He takes his seat, feeling a surge of gratitude for each moment he has spent in this classroom, for each word that has bridged the gap between silence and speech. Today, the teacher asks them to share a personal story, something meaningful to them. The idea makes his heart race, as he knows this is a chance to finally speak his truth, to tell a part of the story he has kept locked away. He thinks about the journey that brought him here, the loss and pain that silenced him for so long. Slowly, he begins to speak, his voice steady but filled with emotion, as he describes the life he left behind, the family he has missed, and the hope that carried him to this new place. The room is silent as he speaks, his classmates listening with respect and empathy. He shares the struggles he has faced, the moments of despair, and the small victories that have led him to this point. As he speaks, he feels the weight of his past lifting, the words freeing him from the silence that once defined him. His story fills the room, resonating with his classmates, and he realizes that he is not alone in his pain. They have all faced challenges, all walked difficult paths, and in this moment, they are united by their shared resilience. When he finishes speaking, the room is filled with a deep silence, each person processing the weight of his story. His teacher offers a gentle smile, her eyes filled with pride, and he feels a sense of accomplishment he has never known before. For the first time, he has used his voice to share a part of himself, to connect with others in a way he once thought impossible. The silence that follows is not one of isolation, but of understanding, a shared moment of human connection that fills him with peace. After class, his classmates gather around him, offering words of encouragement and friendship. They share their own stories, revealing pieces of their lives, their struggles, and their hopes. Each story is unique, yet they all carry a common thread of resilience, a determination to overcome the challenges they face. He feels a deep sense of empathy for each of them, a bond that goes beyond words, rooted in the shared experience of finding strength and vulnerability. As they leave the classroom together, he realizes that these people have become his community, his support system. They have been with him through the most challenging moments, offering kindness and understanding, even when he felt unworthy of it. He knows that, despite the language barrier, they have connected on a deeper level, one that transcends words. Walking alongside them, he feels a sense of belonging, a certainty that he has found a place where he is accepted for who he is. That evening, he reflects on the journey he has taken, the transformation he has undergone. He remembers the day he arrived, lost and silent, trapped in a world he could not understand. He thinks of the small steps he took, the words he learned, the connections he made. Each moment has brought him closer to reclaiming his voice, to rediscovering the person he was before his world was torn apart. He feels a profound sense of pride, knowing that he has found the courage to rebuild his life, to forge a path forward. He knows there will still be challenges, moments of doubt and fear. But he also knows that he has the strength to face them, the resilience to overcome whatever lies ahead. His journey is far from over, yet he feels prepared to face the future, armed with the knowledge that he is not alone. He has found his voice, his place, his purpose, and he is ready to embrace the life he has fought so hard to build. As he falls asleep that night, he feels a peace he has not known in years. The silence that once haunted him has been replaced by a sense of calm, a quiet confidence that fills his heart. He knows that he is not defined by his past, but by the strength he has found within himself. He has discovered a new language, a new voice, and with it, a new life. His journey of healing has begun, and he looks forward to the future with hope and courage, knowing that he is finally free.